to snipe them today, huh? Tell you what, yesterday I had a breakdown. Did not follow my rules. What does that do to you? Causes you to lose more money than you need to lose. Not good, right? The other part that's really annoying about that stuff is, of course, I missed some beautiful trades, right? So I've been pretty good lately about kind of waiting and letting things set up. And I don't know, I got pretty bowled up for some reason on the 50-day yesterday, and I really thought it would hold. And when it broke, I just did not get out. So it cost me a lot more than I should have. It should have. So it happens, and we got to just reset, refocus, make sure that we're understanding the mistakes that we made, why we made them. What it mostly comes down to in terms of not taking a loss, right, is fighting your ego. Your ego doesn't want to be damaged by a losing trade or a losing position. And so you can get run over. And it's okay. You'll get run over sometimes. You just have to make sure that you live to trade another day, right? If you're going to do this for a living, that's pretty much the bottom line, and that's where your risk management has to come in, is to live to trade another day. So no biggie. We focus on today's action, and I'd expect we're still going to get some good price swings here ahead of the rest of what's going on this week. It's just been a wild summer, I gotta say that. So all right, so I'm here to help. Just chime in if you have any questions or anything at all. I normally would be posting my level sheets, but they're not quite posting through. So what I'm going to do is I'll drag these over and reference them throughout, which is what I do anyway, but at least this way I can pull them up on the screen for you guys. One thing to notice, I guess, well, first of all, on the NQ, basically on my sheet, I've got a short only filter that's been in place now for like 5 days, 6 days. So that's one thing to notice. The ES went to that short only filter a couple days ago. And interestingly, even with the selling we had yesterday morning, yesterday ended up being a false down day. I don't know what that means. I don't have any stats on it. I just think it's kind of a fun thing to notice. The other thing, like with a grain of salt, is that I'm using all the Globex, the full values on Globex for all of my sheet studies and stuff. So just kind of keep that in mind. But okay, so the first thing I like to do in the morning is adjust these ATR boxes. I'll show you what I mean by that. Let me jot these down. 35.8607. Okay. So this is my main futures screen that I use. I watch RTY, YM, NQ, ES, and CL. And these typically I have on a 15-minute chart, and then I use my 1-minute charts for entries. But when I start in the morning, I start over here and pull up the RTY chart on the 15-minute. And what I do is adjust the range of these yellow boxes. There we go. To correspond to the 5-day ATR for that instrument. So in RTY after yesterday, it's 35.80. So let's go 29.85.80. 29.50, so that's 35.80. And what I like to do is drag this over to the closing print on the Globex session for the midpoint. Okay, and all that does is give me a quick visual of what the overnight action looks like in terms of the ATR and how much movement there has been in the overnight, as you know, in reference to the 5-day ATR. Okay, moving up to YM. After yesterday, its 5-day ATR is 607. Hey, stop it. Okay, so we pull that over to the closing print and the Globex, center it there. And you can see that we've had some nice upside action in the overnight, right? And some pretty good relative strength. Yesterday, the YM could not even close that gap, whereas, you know, NQ and ES went ripping down through it. So something I like to do, if it's obvious and early on, you can move this box up and look at how, if you put it on the low of the overnight session, the YM has already hit its ATR for the day in the overnight. Okay, so it's something to just note. Okay, moving to the NQ, our 5-day ATR here is currently 651. Zoe, that's enough, please. Okay, so we center that on the Globex close. You can see it's moved about half its ATR so far in the overnight. And with a little bit of downward expansion, right? ES, our 5-day ATR, is $90.25. So get that right here. Yeah, 75, 50.25, and 74. And that'd be 60. 90.25, right? No, 90.25. Okay. And the last one I do is CL, which the 5-day ATR has jumped to $5.76. Fun times, right? Hey, good morning, Philly D, Manny. What did I say? 576. Okay, that's pretty much where it needs to be. And then 7 a.m. NYMEX crude opening I have as $80.81. So I use this orange line on my charts to just denote that RTH session open. Kind of adjust all my charts like that. And we get ready for the ding ding. I'm the kind of trader that likes to see how the price unfolds. And like I'm saying yesterday, I thought that they had put the low in, and I took that trade, and there was nothing wrong with the trade that I took. Where and when I took it and everything, I actually took a stop on it, and then I just immediately put it back in as if I was getting stopped out on the noise and that I was right on the trade, and it was all just me fighting my ego. So, you know, I'm going to be better about kind of taking it easy today, letting things play out a little. And we'll basically see, we've got some numbers. We've had some numbers. We're getting some numbers in 30 minutes. Consumer confidence, Richmond Fed, and then Dallas Fed in an hour. And then some bond auctions. And it takes us into Fed Day tomorrow. So what I do is I wait for the opening prints. I adjust my orange lines on these charts, on my 15-minute charts here. So YM opened 52,868, it looks like. RTY 2961.70. NQ 27,950. ES 74.49 3/4. Okay, so the basic premise of how I like to trade is just a simple concept of if price is below the RTH open, we're trying to put in a red bar on the day. And if price is above, we're trying to put in a green bar on the day. And the problem with me and jumping the gun, and when I do this, it tends to rattle me because it's a tricky thing getting the direction correct early in the opening trade. There's a lot of price discovery, there's a lot of volume coming and going, and it can just really be, the moves can be harsh and can be reactive on both sides, right? So so when I say that I'm trying to lean one side or the other based on our relative price compared to the opening print, it's, when you have a day that's like yesterday morning where they started selling them and then they just expanded it downwards, it's easy to look at that kind of day and just be biased to the short side, right? I mean, obviously in retrospect, it's always easy to look at the charts and say, oh, I should have sold them here and bought them here, and I should have bought them there and sold them there. And that doesn't mean that you can't, for your own system or what have you, that you can't look for that long trade. But what you want to do is make sure that you wait for your signal to develop before you get in on that long trade. I mean, it's sort of that simple. There's nothing wrong with being literally a long trade only trader or a short side only trader. I mean, you can do that easily all the time for your entire career. Like, some people are just, they never take short side trades, and I don't blame them, especially in the bull market we've had. Like, you're just generally going to get stopped out more than you make money on it when you're going against the tailwind like that. But you can also just save yourself a lot of frustration by not trying to catch that falling knife. I mean, even the zones of stability that we put in, which ended up being continuation patterns, those never really showed like strong reversal patterns, like in terms of moving averages, the bases, the length of the bases. Finally they kind of did, after they had gotten it so expanded that you could start picking your bottom that way. But that's one of the things that I love about using these ATRs, right? You don't have to show it as a visual representation like I do. But for me, it is helpful because if you zoom out for a little bit and pay attention to what your 5-day ATR looks like, you can see that this drop basically came straight down to the bottom of its box, which it's no surprise that it corresponded to the bottom of these balance areas down here, right? It went a little farther yesterday and stuff, but the point I'm making is that when things get extended, when we have a move that is that big in one direction straight, it's now you've reached a point where the risk reward may not be there, and you still might not get a long trade setup, although we did, and I'm sure lots of you caught it and made some nice money on that. But my point is that you kind of always have to be identifying, hey, has this already moved too much? And therefore, is the risk reward sort of silly to be trying to short it down here? In my mind, that's one of the best things you can do about your your higher time frame type trading setups is to just look at those higher time frames and make sure that you're not, you know, shorting way into the hole, for instance, like Danny likes to say. That's, it can work. You can do that and have a good trade and make money off of it. And it could be the entry that nobody else could get. When they have real powerful moves, even on both sides of the coin, it's like sometimes it is worth trying an entry, because you may just get that lucky one where it just goes and you don't ever look back, right? Like, what's going to happen right here with the NQ? I mean, are we going to break again and have 1,000 or 1,200 point down day? Like, we definitely could, if they're just, another sort of rough day here on the big board with all these tech names, and they're just totally pricing this in ahead of the Fed. The target is the 200-day moving average, which on the NQ, it comes in at like 26.5. I've got a target based on some very loose, I'm not great with Elliott wave stuff, but some very loose stuff here. My target is 26,887. On the ES, it's held up a lot better, right? But if it starts to catch up, then we've got our 200-day coming in around 70, 42, 40, 70, 43, right? So I have my target slightly higher than that. It's interesting, 70, 43 sticks in my brain because that was that previous breakout point. So I'm watching this closely on the 1 minute. This is the 15-minute. We're putting in some big red expanding candles. We didn't have a huge upward move in the overnight, but it wasn't bad. And after yesterday, it's going to be curious to see just how much more they can sell these things into the hole. My YM 5-day ATR is 607 points. So if we pull that up on the 15-minute chart, you see how that perfectly fulfilled it in the overnight. So that's why. And then when you get something like that, this is a tricky one. This is kind of what happened yesterday as well, is that they gapped it up, rallied it, and then when they open near these highs after a big move like that, I mean, it's still a hard trade to take on the short side because you can get run over so quickly and easily. But it's also like, look, you've got a really tradable top there. So, I mean, you can just sort of short it with a stop above, and you easily might get stopped out. But you also could have one of those trades like we had yesterday where, they just collapse them. So, and I would actually be a little bit curious if we see that action today in YM. Maybe we get YM closing this gap today where it couldn't do it yesterday. I don't know. Quick glance across the board. We've got advanced declines open 330 or so. They're positive, traded up to 650. Now coming back into around 500. And yeah, T-Bone is saying as well that Citadel is saying the Fed will hike tomorrow. They should. They absolutely should get it over with. I mean, what are they waiting for? basically the bonds have moved their hand already for them. But my point is you're already probably late in doing this, and you're already probably going to be um, hiking into some kind of little recession here. I mean, if the tech stocks are telling us that, um, before when oil had gotten back down to 68, I was kind of asking the same question. Like, I was like, this is a very strange price action. Other than the technical aspect that oil needed to fill that gap, I just didn't expect it to trade down there so fast. And I kept wondering and asking myself, is this signaling some kind of recession? Right. But so because we've had this big move in bonds over the last 5 or 7 days or whatever it's been, the bond market is telling the Fed, you better hike rates. You better get this under control. And when Warsh came out and said, price stability, price stability, price stability, and then they didn't do anything in that meeting, it was kind of like, well, what did you expect before the next meeting? Did they expect that everyone would be buying bonds and yields would be lower? Like, no. And then obviously the war stuff comes along and it exacerbates the move and the crude markets back to the upside. And here we are, here's the Fed in a sticky situation. And right now the market is pricing it in, right? It's pricing it in ahead of tomorrow's announcement. I would like to see them, frankly, hike 50 basis points tomorrow. Signal to the market that they really are determined on this stuff. And yeah, would it cause a shock to the system? It might, right? But then maybe we can just get it over with, move on to the next phase here. Sometimes you also see a reaction on sort of surprise moves like that, where the initial reaction won't be the real one. It'll be, they could sell that off hard, but because we've already sold off a bit, Thursday and Friday, they could come right back in with the buying, and reverse it and use the next shorts to fuel the fire to the upside. So, or vice versa, the Fed could stay on pause tomorrow and the market could really rally, in the afternoon, and then maybe it could sell off hard the next day because, the market could be disappointed that they didn't hike, right? So price movement is everything. The reaction is everything. And, you can formulate your different ideas like I like to do. More than that is formulating ideas so that you can possibly get a good indicator or read on the daily price action that might help you understand what's actually moving the market the most for that session, right? So yesterday when we got up, there was a lot of green, right? Because it was a gap higher. And so everything pretty much had nice green across the board. And what let us down? NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA quickly went, reversal mode. And every time it made a new low, the market obviously had to follow. And that's, makes perfect sense given the market cap and everything. Now that's changed a lot, but not that much, right? So it's, if you can identify that, especially early in a session, then that can be a really good, easy way for you to trade off of something, because you can be watching it in real time and saying, like, right now, NVIDIA is making a new low. So do we get the follow through here again? or do they buy this somewhere and start putting their money back to work on something like Nvidia that's now come down, pretty to a pretty big level and pretty hard, and it's not necessarily like a crappy name, right? It's the hardware, it's the infrastructure. So if anything should do better in that space, it's probably right. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fundamental guy. I can't really talk to all that. Like, but if you use that as your gauge now, it's like if we really keep going to the downside on Nvidia, you really need to test this level from June 30th or so, which was the low was like 189 or 189 and a half, right? So another $5 in the name today. It seems likely, doesn't it, that that level needs to get tested, and it could break pretty hard, and it has a lot of room to go to test the bigger range below that. But also it could hold here and have a really big, this could be sort of the start of the next bull wave, if you will, right? So it's a pretty interesting trade, I think, right here. We do have selling again, short side bias on my system, moving average that's has this nice steep slope to it. We're below the open, and we're below this bigger moving average that is basically rolling over now that things have sold off. So I haven't even opened my trading platform yet. Let's take a look and see what we can come up with here. I'll get this opened. Okay. So normally what I'm trying to do, and what obviously worked well early this morning here on that signal, what worked well great yesterday, obviously, was selling these tests of the moving averages. When it goes through by quite a lot, like it just did, it still could be a good signal, but what is it showing us? That there's a little more volatility here. Again, we have numbers coming out in 10 minutes. Consumer confidence, Richmond Fed. That will be the index, manufacturing and services. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that you get a little short covering rally here that, now that's looking like a nice spot that we could have sold, right? But I was sort of a little slow. I'm not, again, after yesterday, I don't want to be in too much of a hurry here. And you can sort of treat news as like trying to establish a position ahead of a news announcement and then looking to get lucky on how the market reacts to the news. Or you can treat news as just wait and let it come out and don't mess around with it until after the announcement. And it used to be one of those things where you could, oftentimes just say fade the initial reaction of the news, and because that's the trap, right? But that's not always the case. So, if you're trying to do that kind of stuff, you just have to take your stop. That's all. It's just not, don't let your ego get in the way and not want to take your stop. So I'm gonna just say hi to my wife here for a moment. So I'll be right back.
I can have my door open.
I'm on the
Okay.
Okay. For YM, I don't do level sheets for YM or RTY Delph, and the reason is because they trade so much thinner and lighter in volume. So I don't typically mess around with those. I've sort of dabbled here and there in them, but I don't know. It seems hard to to trade light volume issues. Like even crude has gotten to the point where it's pretty light. It's almost like trades like gold these days in terms of how much volume it trades. It used to trade like 2 or 3 times as much volume. It was like an average of like 700,000 contracts or something for a long time. Then when COVID hit, it messed all that up because the margins went way up on it, and then the move, because of COVID was insane, and the whole thing about how it traded negative for whatever a day, or where people were having to pay to get rid of their inventory, instead of like it's crazy. It's crazy to think back to that, but that's why I don't trade it. So we had a long red bar. Now we're putting in, is it going to be another long expansive bar just like yesterday? You're seeing a little bit of a attempt by NVIDIA to hold this 93.5 level. So you could have a good little reversal trade here. Oftentimes you want this spot right here to hold. So the ES would be like 23.75. If you look at the sheet I have, there's not a lot down there except for yesterday's low, right? And the low from like a week ago, the 7-day low just below that at 74.11 3/4. And I want you guys to notice this too, that our low yesterday got within 5 points of this prior low, and I'm just mentioning it because I've seen it a lot, is when price holds, oftentimes they will do that. They'll literally start buying it 5 points above that low. So again, I'm not sure what the stats might be on false down days and whether it, leads to a good buying day or not or whatever, but it's just something to beware of, that we have this really interesting position situation where, they were kind of selling it off hard on Friday, and then that gap up, it could have gone either way. Could have gapped up and gone, right? But NQ is showing its weakness, and the rotational trade is still intact. And here we are today with another interesting rotational day where there's a lot of green on the board, as well as all these tech names getting hammered again, like MU down 10%, AMD minus 8%, NVIDIA minus 1.25%, Intel minus 7%, Dell minus 14%. So, I mean, we probably just still need to be aligned. Number one, we're below the open. We have downsloping moving averages. We have weakness in the tech. So we probably still just need to be aligned for short side trades. Now we've got a couple minutes on this news announcement and the numbers. So do you try to get in here? You certainly could. But the fact that I missed all these sort of good spots to short when I'm yapping away here, like now, I don't know if you want to be shorting it here right before the news announcement, right? Like maybe you get a news announcement and it goes all the way back up and tests the open, and you could try that on a first touch fade, or you could try it on a first touch fade of this bigger moving average as a rollover kind of thing. Let's see what they come out with here on the consumer confidence. We do have a little bit of buying in bonds so far this morning, so that's good. I'd like to see that stuff stabilize a little before tomorrow, Let's see here, so 9 seconds. $90.8 compared to 92.2. Get my execution chart up here. This is the trader platform, Niels's Delta Trader. Trying to start with a 5-point stop. So I'm kind of looking for this bar to close so I can make sure I'm not shorting it here if it goes another, straight higher. So now I'm just going to try to short the high of this bar, so 32.5. So 32 3/4. And I'm trying to put another one on. Okay, I got another one on there. got another one on there. 28 3/4. Now I'm looking for like 24 3/4 on one. And let's go 14 3/4 on one. Okay, I was stopped out, break even trade. So this could be just reversing, right? And what happens is if the price moves up through these levels, you're going to see the 1 minute chart start to turn and slope to the upside. And if that happens, and then especially if we can reclaim the open, then I definitely will be leaning towards the long side. It's a little hard to use my stops the way I was doing them then. What I'm trying to do here is get to a system that helps me start with a smaller size, a one lot, and then add to my position if it goes my way. And kind of quickly have a break even sort of position, but with a few contracts on, is the concept that I'm trying to do more of, right? So see what happens here with NVIDIA. It looks to be sagging a little. So I'll try selling the high of this bar again if I can get it. It might have been too slow. After yesterday, the selling could be done, so this could be sort of a stupid trade of mine, but okay, I got one on there and try to add to this. Kind of looks like we're going to go ripping higher. I might try this one more time here on this. Okay, looks like I got a good fill on that one. Let's see if I can get a little more out of this. It's a pretty big rejection so far by NVIDIA and NQ, right? So I don't know, they can still kind of sweep this the way they did yesterday, but they may not have it in them to do that same kind of move. But also, if their memory is short, they could have it in them, right? You could see just some real, guess I better be careful that I don't turn this into a loser. I don't really want it to go above this 32.5 level, right? So chances are I'll get stopped out and then it'll collapse. That's the way they like to do it on us sometimes. But this could be a great reversal entry too. I don't know. I mean, it's been holding this 35 level for, a number of tries, and it just sometimes it likes to keep holding that stuff. But remember, NQ has broken quite a lot more than these other markets. And so if these other markets start catching up a little, and if NQ is really targeting ultimately its 200-day, I mean, I think those levels should be tested, right? They never got tested all that much when they ripped straight through in April and May or whatever. So, all right. Well, now what are we going to learn from this? Is that buying going to represent, a real effort to move to the upside here, or is it going to just be the spot that I wished I had sold it again? And now you've got a moving average on the 1 minute here that's turned and is sloping upwards. And so it'd be an easy target for them to go straight back up to the open. I'm not sure they can, though, with all this red across the board on the tech side. And these tech numbers, companies are pretty horrific. I'm watching NVIDIA closely. We have 2.5 minutes left until the close of this 15-minute candle. Doesn't look great, does it? So if it violates this little low right here, then I'll be looking to short again. That's a bit of a chase for me here, guys. So I have to be weary of that. But now we've got NQs breaking. Dang it. Better get out. Yeah, I didn't wait for it. I chased it. Oh. Oops, I put an extra one on there. I did not mean to. Fuck. Feels like they want to hold them, but I'll give it another few seconds. Bonds are ripping. There's an 800 offer at 28. Nvidia looks like it's eyeing lows now. Oh, this is too much of a chase probably for me here. Taking one off. Bond markets are really going pretty strong here, so I think I got this wrong here. See that 1200 offered at 32 now. If Nvidia breaks its low, though, we should go lower. There's Nvidia. It's trying to test the low. It's going through. So the market should go with it. If it doesn't, I'm in trouble. Fuck. There it goes to the upside. Damn it. Well, that's a good example of how not to do it. Same thing as yesterday. Fuck. God damn it. Yeah, I'm not trading well, guys. This is pathetic. Oh. Chopping my suey is what they're doing. That's not what I wanted to do after yesterday, guys. This is... Last try. We're getting some selling, a little bit of rollover in the bonds. Fuck this. Man. Just gonna rally. Now I'm really getting myself sideways. This sucks. Can we get it back to the open or above the open? It doesn't seem likely, but we are on a little bit of a buy signal here. Just don't know if it can with these techs being so weak. All right, this sucks. I'm gonna try this other account, see if I can do better here. Looks like they're holding them. I'm going big on this one. Okay, well that worked out just fine. Nvidia's going big here. Oh. Come on. Advanced declines, new highs. On the day, Nvidia's eyeing its highs. Let's see if we can get this to follow through or not. Guess not. Fuck. Come on. Yeah, I'm not doing anything right here, guys. This sucks. The fuck. God damn it. Well, it's one way of doing it. It doesn't work. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to trade like that. And it basically signals my sort of disruption in my psychology right now. So let's see. I'll see if I can get one more trade on with this account. All right. I actually I need to lose 3 ticks. So that's an eval. So I'm gonna on my eval, I can't pass my consistency has to be, excuse me, less than a third of what I'm trying to make. So I need to make just under 3 grand on this account. So let's see where that puts it. 29.8344. Okay, well, that works. Yeah, and this is the problem, right? Like then you have a nice trending day yesterday, and then you think you're going to see more of the same, and you don't, because they've done a lot of position squaring yesterday. So the position squaring that could happen today could just be to the upside, because now everything got too overdone, and we made a really nice sort of false double bottom there in NVIDIA, and now it's eyeing the highs. And so, you know, this is a good look at what a bottom looks like, where you actually have support that's built, and then some upside expansion, a pullback to the upsloping moving average, and now this thing should just explode back up through the highs of the day. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna take a break, bathroom break. I'll be right back. Okay, guys. Looks like the momentum's building. Here goes NVIDIA out to highs in the RTH. Still a lot of red in these tech names, but take a look at our bigger picture. There's the example of how that can work. These ATR boxes, you see how NQ from its overnight high, which was basically the opening candle of the Globex session, it almost put in its ATR fulfillment there. And so now the big stops will be back up through these levels, you know. They could just target the other end of this box, or they could target this zone back up in here, 28.5, easily enough, right? You got 11 and a half minutes now for this candle to complete. So it could just be complete reversal here. See what it looks like on the ES. I mean, false breakdown of the overnight low and almost a perfect test there. 17, let's see. 17 was the low, and this low yesterday was 16 and a quarter. Pretty perfect. Back to the open. So here's what I like to do. If you put the low of the day in right there, this is what I thought would happen yesterday. Now look at that. It could just shoot straight back up to, remember where the 50-day moving average comes in, 75.06 and a half. Okay. And that's what I've been talking about last week. Wednesday and Thursday, I was sort of saying these big moving averages, they don't always just go straight through them. You know, they have it more of a tendency to go through them, run some stops, bring in some buyers the other way, then sort of gravitate back to those moving averages as a retest, you know, and that's partly why it set up so well for the failure yesterday, because not only did it break that 07 level, but then it had this gap fill that made it, you know, a pretty easy target for the sell stops. That's why I was so pissed at myself for not taking advantage of that, you know. And then of course, what do? I come in and I overtrade today. Like, so it's like when you have a bad day, it's a lot better to just take the next day off, relax, not do anything. But that's okay. I like trying to get, I like trying to trade with you guys, you know, on the screen for you guys. You can see in real time, like what I'm doing. And you've seen me make some really good trades when I'm being patient and following my system and all that. And then when you get to see me do it the other way, it's like, man, what am I doing? So when you look at how these balances form, the the funny thing about them is that this is where what I would call the balance, right? We made this sort of double top, matching high rejection, boom. And then we never could put in a lower low off of this. These are higher lows. So basically, you get this box that's formed around this big congestion area. And this is often the indicator that you get, right? Is you get the move higher, and then this retest of the moving average. I mean, that was perfect, right? Like, obviously it came through it a decent amount, right? But if you're buying the retest of that moving average and your stop is below here, that's a great trade. And obviously this one worked as well, and even better because it then blasted right through, right? And the reason it's blasting through is because we made another perfect rejection here of this level, which then trapped all the other shorts, like people like me that were just being a little too, over trading or just too bearish, not noticing what's happening over here on the NVIDIA side, right? Because NVIDIA now could go easily back up through 200 or 202 or something, or a lot higher than that. I mean, but it's hard to think it'll go crazy when we have this stuff for tomorrow, but yeah, I'm kind of chopping it up here, Manny. I'm having a hard time. I didn't trade well yesterday at all, so I think probably what I'll do is after finishing the live stream, I might hang around another 30 minutes or something, and then I'm just going to go help my buddy on his remodel. We might sort of be done. I mean, we could just go into a total sideways range bound trade today, since we had a nice trending morning yesterday. Could be short covering and it continues to trend higher, or it turns into a summertime chop, which is more what I would expect. But I don't understand. Yeah, sometimes I don't understand my psychology. The psychology is what I have to figure out. When I say that, what I mean is learn from your stops. That is really one of the biggest keys, right? Is when you take a stop, go walk around the block or something, or set a timer, use the lockout feature on Niels's platform. I mean, that's one of the best features there is in the trader platform. Okay, they still could reject this. They're going to reject the open. The NQ couldn't even get back there. Okay, now I better hold this level down here at 42.25, because if NVIDIA tries to target and just reverse the whole thing and target the lows again, then this could be a little bit of trouble here. How they may have trapped everyone again. Meta on its lows now. See if they want to test the 35s again or not. Again, I'm a little worried if they just trapped everyone and they just sweep this thing now. Shit. Incredible. Oh boy. Well, now what do? Do they buy them? It looks like they're buying them. Back up to the Globex Open. See if the NQ can actually get back up through its open. So 48 quarters. Bonds are ripping. Oil dropping. Breakthrough is near for the talks, is what it's saying. So let's see if this thing can get some legs. Above 56 3/4, there could be some buy stops coming in. In a meaningful way, right? You want to see how it reacts. If it breaks that level, does it go straight through? Jesus. Oh, man. I don't know. Sure would be nice to see him go all the way back up to that 50-day moving average, wouldn't it? Let's see what our next level is here. We got 64 3/4 is the pivot. Then you get the 5-day moving average at 87.5. See where the pivot is on NQ is 304. 28,304. So that's got some room. Man, it'd be nice to see this thing really rip. All the Mag 7s are getting bought now. Where do you guys think this will go to? Remember what I was showing with my ATR boxes, right? Look at that. It could just reverse the entire thing from yesterday morning. I mean, that's what I kind of thought was going to happen here when we gapped up, right? And instead, what did they do? They sold it really hard. So you could still have this thing fail because positioning just gets too crazy in the wrong direction. But the gap up was yesterday on news that was maybe good in terms of the war, right? So if this is better news and they really believe this, then I don't know. I'm trying to gauge it because I got a little money back there and I'm long and I still have 2 contracts, but I don't want to just give it back here. I want to take a little profit, you know, where I can to get this to not such a stupid morning for me, but I really need to see NQ get through 28,000 again. I mean, it could do that imminently, and if it does, it could really pop hard. But here's where I have a hard time with is also managing where I take my profit or where I move my stop, I should say, right? Because it's like sometimes I move my stop, I tighten it, and then it just barely stops me out, and then it goes on through. I mean, if this war stuff is over and we can go all the way back up to the 50-day moving average and reclaim it, then in today's world, that could be a huge, huge pivot point. And we could actually see a much bigger acceleration to the upside if we could get all the way back up through that and keep going, you know? So what was I saying? The level was 64 3/4. So we've so far held that, and the NQ needs to get to 304 just to match that pivot. There's 1,000 offered at 72. They just raised it to 73 3/4. Remember what I said? The next one was the 5-day coming in around 87. This is the big level here. These levels in the NQs, I mean, up above these 28,100 level, it can start getting pretty wild. I hate to cover anything. I almost want to be adding to this. But since I didn't trade too well this morning, I gotta wait, right? You know, just see. We could just be getting going here, you know. This could put in a 2x ATR day, 180 points or something off this low, right? 74.20. What if we trade all the way back up to 7,600 today? I mean, seems impossible with the Fed coming out tomorrow, but let's see, 52s, 82s. I'd really like to see this thing close above 84. Before I move my stop, but prudence should tell me to probably take one off here, but this lines up pretty well. Might have been stupid not to take it off up there. Well, 10-point pullback here. Could do a little ABC correction. So if you get a 10-point pullback from the 72s, that gets you back to around the 62s. May not, though. Let's go. Take it out. All right, let's go. Take it out, guys. Come on. I don't know. And you know there's a lot of stops above. It's just, can they get through some supply here at the 28,000 level on the NQ? Maybe now it'll go. There's a 1500 lot offered at 77.5, and then 800 offered at 78, and 400 offered at 77. So that's decent chunk, and oftentimes they do gravitate towards that volume, right? Because if you're a buyer, you know, and you know that there's some sizable offers up there, come on, let's see if NQ can break this level. YM and RTY are looking good. So if we can get all of these across the board ripping higher. It could just be getting started. Ah, come on, baby, come on. Nope. Bastards. Pardon my French. Oh, here we go. NVIDIA is eyeing highs again. So let's see if NVIDIA can go through right now and get back up to 200. And if it does break its high, watch to see if the market immediately goes like it should, right? Don't stop me. They're going to stop me. I got it at 71 and a half, so I'm stopped. That's all right. I got back a good amount. But now that they've stopped me, they'll probably take it on through. Just seems to happen that way, you know? Volume printed there, and we got through the high. Doesn't seem to be following through great quite yet. Now that I got flat, it'll probably start following through some more. We still could get a pullback down to, say, 59, right? Here's the 20-point move pullback here, right? There goes NVIDIA out to new highs. So now this thing should really go. I'm going to see if I can get a quick snapback pullback to 75.25 to put some back on. But there goes NVIDIA, so I don't know that we'll get it. Yeah, that's right, T-Bone. We need to convert above 7506.5, that 50-day. If we can do that today, it'd be really good. I mean, I feel like they still have quite a lot to sell here. We've had a good rally in bonds today. But any of these rallies could be selling opportunities. You have to remember that. If this is a short covering rally ahead of, Fed hike kind of stuff, it might not matter if the war ends, right? It might be like, it'll matter, but it may not have the same effect that people think it will have, because it's mattered less and less. The war trade has mattered less and less. And so, you could just still have a lot of the big positions looking to sell ahead of a rate hiking cycle, which feels imminent, until it doesn't, until we find out tomorrow, I guess. But, there should be a lot of short covering too, now that we've held this low and moved back up here. This could be, like I say, just the start. And I moved my bid and that was the low, that little pivot point. That's 75. Man, I had it at 75.25 and I moved it down. Stupid. So now I'm trying one at 78.75. It's probably stupid though. I'll try it nonetheless. Doesn't feel right. Feels like they're going to take it down. Bonds are still bidding on their highs. I'm looking to add to these. See if they go ripping here. Come on, rip them. Tesla, Nvidia eyeing highs. Google pretty much there and eyeing highs. Damn it. Now what? Showing a little reversal signal here. Just don't know if I want to fade this. Easy for them to run the stops in either direction, right? Seeing some selling in Microsoft. Nvidia still holding up pretty well. Now Nvidia is trying to make a push, so see if we can print the 87s. I've got 3 again. At 78.5. Probably wrong. I seem to be out of the flow. Tesla rejecting a little. Now NVIDIA rejecting. Damn it. 77s, 74s, 71s. I'm trying short again. I got one back at 74. I'm bidding 71 on one. NVIDIA's starting to reject a little here. Doesn't mean they won't buy it, but they could sweep it to the downside pretty easily too. We've got this level at 64.5. Remember the pivot. Feels like they still want to buy them though. I have to put my stop in, so my stop is 75.5. I might take another one here. like to see the 71s print. And then go a lot lower, and then maybe I'll actually get back to green in this account. I took another one off at 74. So I'm going to drop this bid. I've got 2 left, but I'll probably get stopped. Yep, I'm stopped. Time is it? 10:15. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for me. I'm going to leave you guys to it the rest of the day. And hope you have a great afternoon and great day tomorrow as well. Should be continued good trading. So keep up the great work. Be patient. Don't just let one stop ruin your day or dismantle your trading, okay? Take it from me. I've done it way too many times. But just keep focused on your signals and your setups and your execution, and then, you know, the rest of it will just take care of itself for you. All right. All right, guys. We'll check in with you later. I'll post my links and stuff like I usually do. And again, always I'm willing to chat or help. If anyone ever has questions or anything, just let me know. All right. Cheers, everybody.